Welcome back to Stay in Your Lane. I'm your host, John Maley. Today we have an attorney friend of Triple T Transports and a personal friend of mine, Thomas Kern, with us. Thomas, how are you today?
Good, John. How are you?
Good. Can't complain. Had a long weekend. Took Friday off, so we're just trying to get back into the flow of things. But I'm dying to talk to you and find out what your thoughts are going to be on Assembly Bill 5, California, where this is headed. Where do you see it headed? The total impact. Just want your thoughts, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, it's so every state kind of has this test, right? It's issue that everyone is upset about. And just for background, this would convert independent contractors into actual employees. So that's the big issue with it. And then the test that they'll use to determine that is much stricter under AB5 than it is other places. There's the 3-point ABC test. The worker is assumed to have been an employee unless they meet each of these three criteria. So you're automatically an employee unless you meet these criteria. They are free from control and direction of the hiring entity when performing their work. That's not that hard to get around with contracts and things. The work performed is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. And then C, the worker is customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business. B is the one that's sort of really hard to get around. And that's sort of the biggest issue with this, is if these traditional independent contractors become employees, well, then you have to provide benefits and pay all the taxes that are normally included with employees. And a lot of folks won't be able to afford that. So I know folks have already left California. Some have already packed up. Some are considering staying, but this is going to have an impact one way or another. What I'm seeing is the supply chain's not going to feel it for a year, but after that, it could result in a hiring shortage, which obviously you guys deal with all the time. And then just the closing of a lot of the smaller shops because they won't be able to afford to compete anymore. And then on the independent contractor side, many of them are upset as well because people are either closing or not hiring them now. So it's changed the way that they do business as well. Life in California, the old way, is likely over.
This is going to happen for sure. You anticipate there's no way around this?
Well, it's still pending, obviously, in the courts, but it's no longer enjoined, meaning the state of California can enforce this.
And I believe that there's a more discovery going on, more talk about maybe trying to push this to a higher level. And if that happens, does that mean a federal level from a legal perspective to not allow California to go rogue and do what they want to do?
The district court originally said that, if I remember correctly, that the AB5 was preempted by F4A, which is an old law. It's basically anything that relates to motor carriers, prices, routes, or services. States are barred from enacting and enforcing laws. Those should fall under the federal purview. And so that is the argument that, hey, this stuff is all preempted. You can't even make this law and enforce it. The district court, my understanding, has agreed with that. But then the Ninth Circuit disagreed with that, saying, no, it is not preempted under the F4A. And then they asked for Supreme Court review of this. Okay, you have to apply, but they denied review of it. And my understanding is the injunction in place against protesting AB5 and blocking traffic. The other injunction that was in place to prevent enforcement of AB5 is gone. So they can actually enforce it, is my understanding. but it's going to take a while for them to figure out. They're going to fumble through a little bit, just like anybody would. And you're going to see a body of law created with various precedent, and it'll get figured out that way. But my feeling is, yes, this is coming. I mean, it's here. And then that makes it, essentially two labor pools in the country, right? California and then everywhere else.
Right.
So it's going to cause complications. Now there are some workarounds out there that are being discussed. Just switching to the employee driver model for one. Obviously we talked about the cons to that. It's more expensive to have employees than it is independent contractors.
Right. And the employees don't have the tax arrangements they have as an employee when they're independently contracted.
Exactly. I mean, so both sides there. Now the union is the labor union is who championed this to begin with, and their policy was that in a sort of quote unquote gig economy, they wanted folks to be able to get a more steady wage and benefits and things like that. That is the labor union's policy, if you will, who was sort of behind the push on this.
So how did Uber and Lyft get away with Proposition 22?
Well, again, we're talking about some workarounds here, right? As far as how can you sort of stay in California without making everyone an employee? Well, the first option I said was to make everyone an employee. The second is under AB5, there's a business to business exemption. So it's somewhat difficult, and there's 12 prongs and you got to meet them all. But essentially folks would need to get their own MC number. So that's sort of the first, is a B2B. We're a business, you're a business. And we meet these 12 exceptions. The second is deploying a freight brokerage model. That's what a lot of folks are talking about doing now. So for instance, Triple T, obviously a brokerage, not a carrier, but if Triple T had a carrier, if Triple T was a carrier to begin with, they would also then get brokerage authority and broker their own trucks. They would have to be two separate businesses, obviously. They'd have to be some arm's length. But that's another workaround, is to say, okay, well, we're going to create a brokerage now that brokers our loads.
To our own trucks.
To your own trucks. That is one. Again, I mean, that's, you're running through raindrops kind of on all these things. There's also the taxi cab medallion model. I don't know that will work in this, but folks will figure it out over time. But these are what I'm hearing about now. Folks are doing, or I've read, or I've talked to buddies about. There's some workarounds out there that are being discussed. So we're not necessarily dead in the water. It just depends on how enforcement will be, how strictly it will be enforced, how overreaching the government will be, and things like that.
So you see that from your perspective, you believe this is coming.
Yes.
Prepare for it, expect it. Chances of it not coming are?
Well, I mean, right now, I mean, again, it's here now, and it's being fought. Again, essentially through an entire court versus an entire court case versus just an injunction. So we'll see if that F4A holds up. But what we've seen is the ninth shoot it down already. We've also heard the F4A enforced to preempt state laws lots and lots of times. So my guess is that this will come, but there will be a court case that lays it out. But as for now, the injunction's over. It's here. So if you're doing business in California, you got to start making decisions.
So what does the owner operator do today to make decisions?
Well,
there's 70,000 of them.
Right. So the owner operator, they can pack up and leave, go to a different state. I'm not obviously telling anyone to do that. California's great. But it is an option, move out of California. The other thing is to get your own authority. The issue with that is, obviously I've done that for people. I know how much it costs. I know what the cost of insurance alone is. That's kind of the big one.
Yeah.
The premium. So that is a barrier to entry for a lot of, owner operators. If you're an owner operator, you could deadhead out of California as well, right? So you can come in, drop your load, and get out. That is a possible option as well. But it's tough, and it's going to have an impact, I believe. What I'm reading and hearing is that you're not going to see it for about a year. I think you'll just see a lot of people quit, people leave, and then there'll be somewhat of a driver shortage, obviously, because there kind of always is one, and it just makes it harder.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the enforcement, obviously, that they've never enforced this. So, this is new for California as well. So it may take them some time to adjust. They may be lenient at first. I mean, I saw a tweet from one of the regulators in California encouraging drivers to make wage claims with them under AB5 if they feel that, they're an employee and not an independent contractor. So you can see some quote unquote enforcement happening now, but it takes a while, right? I mean, obviously, if you violate this, you get a notice, you go back and forth, you kind of see what happens. That's my guess as to what you may be able to get out of it. They may be an employee. So these things will take time.
I was still hopeful that, there'd be some other options. The big thing is with the port business in California, it's kind of a leverage angle.
So the port business is the dredge, they're going to get hit the hardest from what
Correct.
I've read. And this is absolutely pointed at them.
Correct.
So yeah, they're going to feel this. The folks that are the sort like the heavy haulers, they charge higher rates. They can sustain making people employees and things like that. But the dredge folks, everything I've seen and read, that's who's going to get hurt the most here. Now, people still need things moved, right? Particularly in California, a lot of stuff comes in there. So somebody's going to have to pick that up. My biggest fear of this whole thing is that it's going to kill the little guy. They're just not going to be able to afford. So, we're going to end up with 3 big ones there doing everything. So that's kind of my fear with this law, but we'll see.
Many of the carriers have given drivers stipends and stuff to move out of California.
Yeah.
They can avoid this.
I haven't, obviously I haven't seen that, but it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I have heard of entire companies just quitting in California and saying, we're going to go somewhere else. It's not going to help small business.
It's not going to help startup either.
No. I mean, right off the top, if you want your own number just to get the piece of the sheet of paper is 20 grand. That doesn't include a truck, which you probably lease back, but it's going to be expensive. So that's why I think, regular folks aren't going to be able to do it.
They're going to have to do it in other states.
Yeah. I mean, they'll do it. They'll be able to do it other places.
Arizona, Nevada.
Certainly.
Well, thank you again for the time. Thanks for the wisdom. Love having you on Stay in Your Lane.
Well, love being on, John. Love seeing you, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, Tom. We've known each other a long time.
Long time, brother.
All right. Hey, you have a great afternoon. Again, thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Keep it moving, John. I'll see you.